I need you to really answer this question and think about it properly.
Yeah.
So I'll give you some time to answer it. Is there a way to remix a comedian's joke and make it your own? And I want you to be able to give me an example of, not a comedian that's done it so we don't throw him under the bus, but an example of a joke that can be remixed, that it still sounds like the original joke that you've bitten, and a joke that was remixed where you hear the essence of it, but it's now a new joke. Can you think of a joke?
I can't think of anything in particular, but
can you remix a joke?
What I would say is, like, there are only so many subjects under the sun, right? But it's about having your own independent viewpoint on it.
So you can remix a joke.
It's not remix. I'm saying I'm not saying remixing a joke. I'm saying talk about a topic, because if you look at like an open mic comedian's joke book and you look at like Chris Rock's joke book, the headlines are going to be the same: relationships, politics. It's that kind of, yeah, but it's that kind of. But it's like, what is your? So for example, there's loads of people that go, Trump is orange and Trump is like that sort of shit. It's like, that's fucking baseline observations or whatever, yeah. But I think the people that succeed generally are the ones that go, all right, that's the first layer, that's the second layer, and then they go to like layers 3 and 4.
Okay, so let's say for instance someone makes a joke and it says something about, I was in Brixton and I got directions from a black guy. And then this is how he gave the directions. He said, go past the KFC, then go past Newtings, take a right at the barber shop, take a left. So basically, that's his joke. Then let's say a comedian goes, I was in Southall, okay? I asked an Indian man for some directions. Now, let's just say, for instance, that joke is the same essence, but he's just turned it into the Indian man. Is that biting or is that just remixing?
What I will say is, with those sorts of jokes, I don't think somebody that does those things will ever get to a stage where they're headlining their own shows and people coming out to see them on tour.
Or would you call that biting or remixing? So let's
I'll be real with you, like Gabriel. Like for me, I don't watch what people do. Like I just say, when I see people doing that, I always see people doing that in the infancy of their careers.
Okay.
Do you see where I'm coming from? Like it happens because people have been told they're funny and they're like trying to, and sometimes.
It's up to you. I can tell you if you're just
no, but yeah,
have you pulled them up?
No, huh?
Have you pulled them up? Did you pull them up? I know 2 girls that have been bitten by comedians. I can say that.
No, it's just alright. Like, do you know what? No, because here's the thing. Here's the thing, bro. Here's the thing. People, if people are biting your jokes, they need it more than you do.
Okay.
Right? And it's like, I have to look at myself sometimes and go, maybe my observation wasn't as unique as I thought.
Okay, but when it's not in their infancy, you don't take offense.
I'll be real, bro. Most of the time, when you give it more credence, when you pay attention to it more so, what am I going to benefit from me pulling you up and going, yo, let's...
I think it's the idea of where we use the whole word like cultural appropriation. It's the idea where you've made the joke now, and then all of a sudden, because I've seen comedians who have been bigger than a smaller comedian remix their joke, and now everyone thinks that it was this comedian's joke when it's not. So it's
I've been accused of it as well, but it's that thing where I think like you said, there's some people will do it word for word, but like if they're not doing it word for word, sometimes I'm just like, all right, cool, whatever. Like you may have taken the same sort of idea and whatever, but like I have to work harder. The way I look at it personally, the way I view those things myself is I need to work harder and think of more things that are more personal to me that people can't go, I've been through that or I've done that. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you have to have, I think for other people they'll pull somebody up and they'll fight over it or whatever, fine, whatever. But I think that energy, sometimes you have to just go, let me channel this into something more positive and let me do something where I can write some more jokes. Now that's sort of what develops, where like you start seeing jokes where you're like, that's a joke that only so and so could tell. And that's the sort of level where you want to get to, right? I want to be that comic where people go, oh yeah, that sounds like a joke you'd write, because it's like very reminiscent. For example, like if you talk about somebody like Chris Rock, what was often his style was he'd repeat that punchline or the premise. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh my god, like man, and it was like, you understood that. So when I started seeing other people repeating a premise, whatever, I was like, that's not you though. Like, do you know what I mean? It does, and
Chris Rock.
yeah. And it's like, then you look at somebody like a Bill Burr, who's just like, sometimes if you read the joke on paper, you're like, this isn't funny.
Yeah.
But the way he's delivering it, you're like, that's Bill Burr. Like, and you're like, that's Chappelle. You could look at a lot of Chappelle stuff. Like, you'd be like, but then you see him delivering it, and you see the way he weaves it in together and stuff. It's
that's my favorite comedian, you know.
Chappelle.
Yeah. Who's your favorite comedian?
Bill Burr.
Serious?
100%.
You didn't even think. You just like.
Bill Burr is my favorite comedian ever.
Why is that?
Bill Burr's an interesting character. So do you know him?
Yeah.
So I think there's a rage inside him.
Okay.
Which I can really empathise with. Like, he's angry at a lot of stuff, and that's when I found my jokes come.
Okay.
Where, like, from a place of anger, where I'll get fucking frustrated about something, and I'm like, let me write about this. And I see that a lot in him. And I saw, like, he was talking about on a
This is dying behind us, make you laugh.
Yeah. No, I get it.
When he said that, I just thought to myself, take away ashwagandha from his house. Go and tell jokes.
But like, for example, today, I was so vexed, right? Because I opened up my AirPods and one was 17% and the other one was 85%. And I was like, what the fuck, bro? You went to sleep at the same time, bro. Like, why is one of you more tired than the other? Right, and it just got me vexed, bro. Like, I was like, and as I was getting vexed, I was like, let me write that down in notes. Do you know what I mean? But because I was like, I don't know. I was like, it's got me angry, and I found a funny bit in it. Like, it's not going to be funny tonight, but I'll find some way to make that funny in it. But I was like, why are you on 17%? What have you done? Like, go to sleep. But it's the rage that I see in Bill Burr that I can see in myself. Yeah. And the other reason I respect Bill Burr so much is I remember listening to a podcast of his where he said when he first started out, his favourite comics were Pryor and Eddie Murphy. And like Eddie Murphy before was one of my favourite comics as well. Like, still is, but obviously like he's not active anymore in that. Yeah. And he said they were doing black rooms, so he said, I need to go and do black rooms. As a white ginger comedian, he was out there going to do black rooms, and he was like, if I can be funny in those rooms, I can be funny elsewhere. And I respected that a lot. I was like, for somebody like that to go with the likes of Patrice O'Neill and Kevin Hart and those guys, and like not worry about whatever. And I feel like he treads the line of, he talks about race in a way where he will talk about his own ignorance, and it's not being really like, he had, because his wife's black obviously, right? And he had that joke about when they're watching the Elvis documentary together, and he's highlighting his own ignorance within that joke, but he does it in such a funny way. You're like, fair enough, like, and it's funny, and I love that sort of stuff. It's like, but that again goes to say like nobody else could do that joke. Because it's, if you're going, I'll sit with my wife, it's like, but your wife isn't black, so how does this joke make sense, right? Do you know what I mean? And that's where, like, somebody like that, I'm like, he has perfected his style where he can make political and social observations and commentary, but it's so unique to him and his life.
How much of your comedic style would you say changed when you transitioned from the black circuit to the white circuit?
I think that's a very hard conversation to have, because there was a lot of growth that took place within me as a person as well. Okay. Right? So I think you get better as you get older in this game. I think it's the one thing where it's not a young man's sport. Like, because when you're 21, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? Like, this is why, like, when I tell you, like, a lot of people in the infancy of their careers are doing it's a worry when they're doing it in their 40s and 50s when they're still joking about, like, bait subjects. But it's, when I'm 21, I don't have any idea what it's like to be married, divorced, have kids, be in a multitude of jobs, whatever. Like, what do you know, bro? You're 21. Like, say for example, you at this age, a 19-year-old comes on stage and goes, "Oh, life is hard." You're gonna kiss your teeth immediately.
Just like when Messi says life's hard, I just laugh. That was bad, like, you know, like.